Hey, do you think there's ever a possibility that you'll buy into letting me light cigars in this room?
Is there a possibility? Maybe if we get separate ventilation, kick it right out.
Rabbit air.
Yeah.
Rabbit air. Tonight feels more like a cigar smoking, pontificating type of night.
It does.
See, that's what happens when you hire illegals to build your studio. It falls apart. Instead of hiring quality craftsmen from right here in Idaho. You know somebody that can hook you up with that, right?
I think our studio is falling apart.
Quit using those
We might
illegals.
have some facades that just topple over midstream.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind us.
No whiskey tonight.
Well, we have said viewer discretion is advised. Those of you who've joined us here pre-intro, you can get busy and share this feed to your page or profile.
I'm going to check my feeds right now.
Check those feeds, see how it's going.
Hey, we're live on X. Give a shout out if you're on X.
Hello. Check, check. I feel like we have like a really choppy feed tonight.
Check one.
I'm feeling like it's going to be a little rough, you know?
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Huh.
The video, the image actually looks choppy to me. Sadly. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County where we expose political power players, politicians, social influencers, just people in general who promote themselves with power and try to do their best to control you. We're your hosts, Dan and Donna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. You can get involved right there in the comment section all throughout the program. You can always text or leave a voicemail at 208-366-4671. If you're watching live with us here tonight, another reminder, a second reminder to share this feed to your page or profile. And a reminder that opinions expressed are ours only, not necessarily that of our advertisers, sponsors, affiliates, guests, or any other organizations that we may be ever discussing or recommending. They are solely our opinions. For anyone listening back on our podcast, be sure to catch us live every Wednesday night at live PM. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m.
7 live.
Live.
I like it.
Live PM. Tonight on Liberty Without Compromise, viewer discretion is strongly advised because this episode is going to get a little bit intense. Dan, he might just let it fly. We're going to break down what's really happening in Kootenai County, starting with fallout from the Mitchell Event Center hearing. There may be a lot of you that say, I don't even know what that is. But what should have been a straightforward process turned into something very different. We've got video on that. We're going to show you why this became different than the norm and why it matters to you when we're talking about a possible overreach or misuse of power. Then we're going to head to Coeur d'Alene City Hall, where Mayor Dan Gookin loses control during a heated council meeting over the next police chief. Accusations are flying, tensions rise. We're going to ask the question, what's really driving this? I think Dan Gookin said, sorry, I exploded like an angry zit. And I quote. We're also going to revisit Pastor Tim Remington and a critical push to operate a youth recovery program without proper licensing. With what we already know about vulnerabilities inside that system, this raises serious concerns about oversight and accountability. We're going to walk through the newly released Watchmen Ministry North Idaho voter guides, why their process matters, and then we're going to address the fallout after a candidate publicly accused us of spreading lies. Lies, it's all lies. That segment's going to get really direct, not holding back. And that's probably where you have to be careful if you got sensitive ears. Before we wrap up tonight, a quick but important update on surveillance, an issue we've been tracking that continues to impact this community. Now here's your host, Dan Wilson.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Getting to sit across from you for 2 hours with the woman that I love more than anything, and with you guys out there that are part of our Liberty Without Compromise broadcast network. Thanks for joining us. Episode 69. Are you paying attention? Pay real close attention if you are looking for ways to go and do something. We're going to talk tonight about things that affect you right here in Kootenai County. And if you truly believe in liberty without compromise, where you don't align with people that are ideologues, you align with the principles of the Constitution, the principles of your faith. Some do overlap, but there is a definite separation. You're going to want to pay attention, because there are things that you can actually do to make a difference in your community if you are willing to put in some elbow grease and you're willing to do some hard things. We're going to give you a couple tips on what it is that you can be doing. And remember, in the comment section, there are people that are like you, like-minded. And it's a good reminder to reach out. Of course, be careful. You have no idea who's on the other line, but you can vet folks and share with them. Share with them encouragement. Share with them the things that used to, as Americans, make us proud to be an American. The fact that we could get along with our neighbors and that we could get along with our family members, and you could have some disputes, but you didn't become mortal enemies over politics. So are you ready to get involved? If you are, there are going to be plenty of opportunities that we are going to talk about. Remind me, because once in a while I get a little sidetracked. Somebody drop a comment in and say, hey, what applies to us here? But we do have a lot to talk about tonight. And we're going to get right into it shortly here, talking about the Mitchell Event Center. But I want to remind you out there, if you have any kind of a tip and or some kind of story that you want to share, especially if you want to go on the record. Donna, what's that number?
The number is 208-366-4671. You can actually call or text that number any old time. You leave a voicemail, and put that number up on the screen for you right there. You were out earlier this week, maybe a couple days ago, grabbing a cup of coffee, and you ran into somebody, and that became an interesting exchange. You got home later in the day, or actually you might have called me and you said, you'll never guess who I ran into today. I don't know. Give me 1,000 guesses. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been somebody lurking in the shadows that really started following you somewhere around your announcement as run for sheriff. And anyway, so you tell me more about that. Interesting.
Yeah, Ken Scott from Post Falls, big detractor during the campaign. In fact, one of his favorite tactics was to diminish the volunteer service of my reserve police officer career, if you will. But after a while, I just blocked him because I got sick and tired of the same old crap over and over and over again. And being the mouthpiece for many at the KCRCC, and especially the Norris group. And you know who the Norris group is. But, I eventually blocked him, but Donna still allowed him to comment on the Liberty Without Compromise, Idaho Sheriff pages. And last year,
I allowed it.
Last year, Ken Scott made a post where he said to Donna, he called her my biatch.
Whoops.
It's lucky that Ken was not in the same room because I'd have taught him a few things. But I put a challenge out on X, posted copies of what he said, since he apparently in all of his conservative nature can't treat a lady correctly. And I gave him a challenge. If you really want to talk that way about my wife, next time you see me, let's see you run your freaking fat, loud mouth, Ken Scott, and see what happens. I'm your Huckleberry. A couple days ago at a coffee shop right here in Post Falls, I observed Ken Scott walk into the coffee shop. I was sitting outside enjoying a cup of coffee with a friend. I had to go back in and get a refill. And as I got my refill and was exiting, I observed Ken Scott sitting at his booth. I hollered at him, "Ken Scott!" And he stood up, put my hand out, grabbed his hand. I said, "I'm Dan Wilson." And immediately the look of confusion and fear washed over his entire face. And all he could do was stammer. All 5'6", 200 pounds of fat keyboard loudmouth Ken Scott. So Ken, just a reminder to you and all of your friends out there who love to run your mouths, every chance you get to actually talk to me man to man, one-on-one, you have nothing to say. I know what you are, and you're a coward. And it proved it yesterday. So, or the day before, whatever day it was. But this is a lesson. You talk about my wife in a certain way, and there will be consequences. And I know many of you men out there also feel the same way about your wives.
I don't think that isn't the only lesson, the only takeaway in that. My observation is that all of these guys and some of the females who have run their mouths about you a lot of times they're in the parody groups or comment sections of parody groups and either hidden profiles, or they feel that there's safety in numbers. So they've triangulated the community and they're like, "Oh, all enemies of Dan Wilson, we gather here at Fridays at 3:00. This is where we gather." You will, sure enough, over time, run into every single one of these guys because this now isn't the first time.
No.
And it's been funny to watch. I mean, it has been several times, probably more, because I know you've had run-ins with Bob Norris himself, and then a lot of these other guys who've been haters. And in-person meeting, I actually, as witness, have seen you be nothing but kind. I mean, not necessarily Bob Norris, are you exchanging words there? But with these
polite,
other guys, polite. And then with these other guys you've run into, it's actually, hey, nice to meet you. And they have nothing to say. I mean, that has been the track record so far. I'm looking forward to you meeting more of them. Keith Bowe.
Yeah. And they're all the same. They're all fat
good.
and undisciplined. Hey, we just got a message here that I just threw up on screen from Tiki Torch Dave Reilly.
Oh my. Dave.
I didn't even know he was still around here. Are you really about to do a podcast about me alleging I'm paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center or something? If so, fuck you. Give me a link and have me on so I can defend myself. Hey, Dave, pound sand. You have no idea what we're going to talk about. You'll have to sit back and, like the rest of the viewers, you'll have to take your turn and wait to see what we have to say. And then, with your valuable little podcast that you have as well, you're more than welcome to give a rebuttal. But this is my show. You're not coming on. I don't recognize you.
Well, then Dave, the whole show is not about you. Just coming up later. The Mitchell Event Center. Talk to us about what that is, because I think that's not necessarily, sometimes these things that we think are community-wide events and everybody's engaged. I have a feeling that this one has not hit the radar for most people. They're not really aware of Mitchell Event Center, what is that? That it's at the heart of that is a family that's looking to start their small business. And then some of the trials and tribulations that they were met with to get approval for that project.
Yeah.
Talk to us about why. Okay, that's pretty commonplace here in North Idaho that you see families pursue that.
Well, let's go ahead and play
dream.
the video. The video does a better
Explains,
job.
Okay, so instead of talking, I should have had that. Here we go.
So back in, it was early December of last year, I got a tip from one of our viewers that there was an event, a wedding event center that was going before Planning Commission to get permission. And while the family was applying for their conditional use, Bob Norris got up and basically spoke out against it. And we'll go ahead and put this on pause because I'm not talking as fast as my video. That video you just saw was from Bob Norris back in December. And so, look, all of the stakeholders in Kootenai County, whenever there's an event center, get to have a chance to weigh in to community development, to weigh in whether or not they have any issues. They look at the plans. They look at the proposals. The family, the Mitchells, hired a professional firm to come in and provide all of their pre-planning and documentation and engineering. Came to this hearing in December only for Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and in fact, the sheriff himself to get up to speak before the hearing to say that while they originally were okay with this center, all of a sudden they decided, no, we're not for the center. Bob Norris failed to disclose that his good friend and also an opponent of this, David Lou Cummings, a former federal agent, Homeland Security, was opposed to this project because it was about a half a mile from her house. Bob Norris is about a half a mile in a triangle. And this is all within where these folks live. And we just thought it was bizarre. So at the December hearing, a couple complaints were made by those that opposed. The Mitchell family went back with their consultants and they revised some of the plan. In fact, they went above and beyond what was being requested of them. And there was yet another hearing here just a week ago. In fact, it was a boring hearing. The majority of the time was taken up by the loudmouths that were opposed to this young homeschool family that's lived in Post Falls their entire life. The father and his brother have graduated from Post Falls High School. They own a small restaurant in Post Falls. They bought this land and they want to have a seasonal wedding event center. And they have put a lot of work and money into their plans to be able to live out their dream on their property. But who opposes it? Well, a lot of the same people that run around Bob Norris. In fact, we have Cynthia Blaylock, who is a Southern California attorney who represented the opposition. You'll see the easel lady up there right now. I mean, these people that were in opposition were really getting it. Michaels must have made a fortune that day in craft supplies. But here's Cynthia Blaylock, this arrogant Southern California attorney transplant that used to represent cops and unions down in California. She had a lot to say as she represented the opposition. This is the former Fed, David Lou Cummings, good friend of Bob Norris and Pastor Paul Van Oy. And they got up and spoke about what their opposition was. Again, how dare that this family put anything out that might actually bring them some joy and business for their family. Right now, you're looking at Mr. Foudy, who is with Planning and Development. He's speaking on behalf of the new submissions by the Mitchell family to exceed any of the concerns that maybe the roads department had, Kootenai Fire, Idaho Department of Land. So we're going to listen now to the end, through the end of this video, to kind of listen to a couple key things that you might find interesting. This is the Planning Commission meeting that was just a week ago at the hearing examiner meeting.
Okay, we'll have to fill in the rest of it as far as their attempts to contact. Kootenai County Community Development reached out to the Sheriff's Office had 3 separate occasions. We received communication from Captain Scott Maxwell, and we were informed that the letter that was provided during the remand, essentially recommendation, is what will stand. They don't have any further comments to make. They don't have any conditions of approval that the applicant can satisfy at this time. Their concern is that limited evacuation route and the strain on emergency services is going to place an undue burden on their agency. So that is all I have for you as far as that. The applicant could fill in on theirs.
Okay, and I'm just going to bring up their letter real quick just for my reference. So again, yeah, the 2 points being, and I'm going to connect, well, I'll come back to this one. Their second point being, essentially, they say, and for the record, this is the December 12th letter to myself and to the CUNY County Development Department. Essentially says, additionally, should a fire incident occur at the site, the sustained presence over multiple days or a week would put a significant strain on the Sheriff's Office resources to provide public safety. I guess I don't have any further comment. I don't think they have a representative here tonight. Do they? I don't think so. Okay.
Okay, real quick. So this is the hearing commissioner, and he is acknowledging the fact that while the Mitchells and their consultants already put in yet another plan, if you will, that met and exceeded the original concerns, CUNY County Sheriff's Office refused to budge. In fact, their only comment was our letter, which they're referencing right now, from December 12th still stands. They're concerned about fire danger and evacuation. This is what the planner is, the hearing commissioner rather, is discussing, and this is what he's referencing. So I'm going to continue to play this here.
I guess I'm not entirely sure what that's saying other than if there's a fire that puts strain on county resources, which I think essentially could apply to anything or any project. But perhaps with maybe to more of the substantive one about them being concerned about evacuation routes. I guess maybe first of all, have you seen, or maybe other staff members can chime in here, about the sheriff commenting on evacuation routes or that being a limiting factor on other proposals that you can think of or maybe supplied to the record?
I don't have a qualitative, response to that. As I, this is something that I'm not sure if the department has seen before. I'm sure that maybe Ben Tarbutton, the planning manager, can speak to that.
Yeah, Ben Tarbutton, planning manager, for the record. This comment from the sheriff's office is a new comment. We haven't seen this before, to my knowledge. It could exist out there, but again, typically the sheriff's department does not comment frequently on our projects.
Okay. So you just heard it from the horse's mouth. The hearing commissioner says, I'm not sure why it is that the CUNY County Sheriff's Office is concerned about evacuation any more than any other entity out there, whether it is other venues or housing, I can't even think of the name, not HOAs, but developments. You have all sorts of people in the county that have to evacuate. And then you hear further in the planning, and the planning department representative says, this is really odd. The sheriff hardly ever comments in anything, and we don't really have any history of a sheriff doing what he's doing right now. It doesn't make sense. Well, I suggest to you why it doesn't make sense, and they're being nice, is because Norris does not. The sheriff of Kootenai County that claims that he stands for everyone's constitutional rights doesn't stand for the rights of those when they happen to be in his own backyard, and those of his friends, David Lou Cummings. Most of the people in this audience are there in opposition. Many of them, as you'll find out, did not even live anywhere near where this development is. Many of the people that you were saying, and I'm going to be very clear about this, I have nothing against Californians up here at all. I've made this abundantly clear. Many of my closest friends are California transplants. But the California transplants that you see largely in this audience are the very picture of those that we wish would never have come here. They're the ones that bring all of their money, they buy up all the good land, and then they take people like the Mitchells who have lived in this area for decades and immediately want to throw those people that have their roots here aside because they don't want other people to be able to have a business on their own property, even though every department, Idaho Department of Lands, Kootenai Fire and Rescue, Post Falls Roads Department, the Zoning Commission, everybody agrees that the Mitchells have met and exceeded what is required by law. But you see a sheriff in his official capacity through his office, and they've never articulated why. They've thrown some large hovering like generalizations, but they've never been able to produce any data, and they have never done this before. But this is what happens with the Bob Norris crowd. And by the way, the KCRCC proudly endorsed Bob Norris. When you hear Brent Reagan talk about he's for people that are fiscally and socially conservative and adhere to conservative Republican principles, that right there is another one of those, Brent, you're a liar. Let's play the rest of this because I want you to see when the Mitchells family, their consultant, the lady in red, is getting up to give her final proposal to the committee and to the the hearing examiner. Watch the decorum of the very obtuse, robust Cynthia Blaylock, attorney from California. Watch her decorum.
There is one way in and one way out for one home, the Mitchells, and their venue. Bella Ridge residents, most who are in this room tonight, are 36 homes right across the street with one way in and one way out. It's not true. There's an emergency. I'm going to address the Fire Smart topic that came up tonight.
Look at this.
So,
all right, we're done with this video. I may not have done as well articulating and setting everything up. We have numerous other previous episodes where we go into this in great detail, showing the satellite view of where Bob Norris's home is in comparison to David Lou Cummings, in comparison to the Mitchell family property. And let me tell you, this is the same attitude. Look at that freaking fat Californian, that better than everybody else Californian that came up here and throwing her weight around, literally throwing her weight around. She can't even have any common courtesy to not interrupt and disrupt the hearing that the Mitchells are paying for. This is one of Bob Norris's friends, and I have much more to say on Cynthia Blaylock because she and I tangled up quite a bit during the campaign when this woman from California thought she could come into Kootenai County and tell the people and tell me what I could and couldn't do as a former reserve. I just see these bullies, these same typical bullying tactics and the same players over and over and over again. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough. Now, here's where those of you out there can do something positive. Write a letter to Kootenai County Planning Department with the attention of the hearing examiner and the county commissioners. You can write to them as well, but write a letter of support for the Mitchell family and their wedding event center. That's something you can do right now today. You can send an email. You guys can go online. I should have probably provided a couple links. Help this family out. This family appear to be good, wholesome, God-fearing, patriotic Americans, the type that we supposedly like here in this county. Go and drop them a line of support to Mark Eberline, Leslie Duncan, Bruce Matari, although Bruce Matari is, of course, very close to Bob Norris and David Lou Cummings, so I don't think it's necessarily going to do anything, but the county commissioners ultimately get to vote whether this event center gets to take place. So that is the very first thing you can do to be proactive this week.
In short, you had a family that was working to push that business model on their own private property forward. They were not met with any obstruction until it was smooth sailing at first. And then what it appears when you, like you say, look at the map from the top down, it's within, you can see the triangle of where Norris, Davalu Cummings, and then the Mitchell's property is. And you're like, oh, okay. And really the larger problem for this county is you have Bob Norris, who came in as the sheriff and then seemed to obstruct the approval of this by commenting on it as the sheriff's department. So not coming in as a citizen of Kootenai County to speak on behalf of, hey, this is near my property and I don't want to hear wedding music at 9:15 at night at X number of days a week or on the weekends. He didn't come in as a citizen to do that. He used the power of his office to seem to obstruct, and something about the beat. He was concerned
he was
about
originally
the Beatles.
concerned about the Beatles.
The Beatles.
And then somebody that actually works for the state that specializes in the study and the management of these bark beetles said he's full of crap.
Yeah. Yesterday I got a message, Facebook DM, like, hey, did you see the CDA council meeting? I heard my daughter was, the person says, my daughter was there, and it from the sounds of it, Mayor Dan Gookin, like, it got kind of heated. I was like, oh, well, check it out. Check it out. Give me the highlights. Yeah. Anyway, I did get a needle drop to it so I could get through part of it.
Are you going to set us up as far as what the meeting was about?
No, I'm going to let you do that. But because I got the needle drop and I got to it and I was like, okay, this is high quality. Well, one, Dan and I, you're old when you kick your feet up at night and you turn on like Board of County Commissioner meeting or Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting, and you're legitimately looking forward to it. And then secondly, legitimately entertained. Okay, maybe you're not.
Looking forward to it's like a little strong there.
I can't wait. You're old when. But okay, so Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting, it got a little heated. Like I am going to say this one thing, and it might steal your thunder, but I was like, I think Dan Gookin, like, bro, he's crying. So, okay, so what the heck? What was this about?
Chief Lee White resigned, turned in his resignation the end of last year, 2025, and so there has been an interim chief, which has been former Coeur d'Alene captain under Lee White, Dave Hagar. And Dave Hagar was in the running to be appointed as the new chief, but there were other candidates that were brought in from outside of the area. I've not really been following this one super close. Don't really have an opinion, but apparently last week there was a tie. It sounds like there was no consensus or decision on who the chief was going to be, whether it was going to be Captain Dave Hagar or whether it was going to be Yeager. I can't remember his first name. Yeager.
Yeah.
Ben Yeager?
No.
Something like that. We'll get it in a minute.
Not that.
All right. So apparently there was yet another move to get this under, get it done, get this deal done. And so what we're going to see is the fallout when, oh, by the way, Dave Reilly, Tiki Torch, Dave Reilly.
He's probably getting bored. Give him an update. Give him an update. Just
to show you how fair we are, we're going to show your arch nemesis, Dan Gookin. We're going to show him behaving badly. You're not the only one that's going to get the spotlight for bad behavior or childish behavior. So anyway, just enjoy this, revel in this. Let's go ahead and play this video of Dan Gookin having a meltdown.
Opinion of the legal department of the city of Coeur d'Alene that a police chief cannot be appointed by the mayor, and such an appointment would be a violation of the city's own adopted policy, and also that the method of appointing a department head is not supported by state law. particularly Idaho Code Section 50-204.
And so, here you have the crux of the matter. Here is what goes on in the city of Coeur d'Alene. You have an unelected city attorney who butts heads with the mayor. And that's this whole story with the police department and city attorneys. See, he didn't give me advice. He vetoed me. And he doesn't have that authority in statute. I have the authority by statute to make an appointment. He's using a resolution, a personnel rule, to tell me that I lack authority. He's not backing me up. And in fact, I have hired private counsel because I've lost his faith. I have no faith in the city attorney, not to advise me as the mayor. I believe he tilts the table. This is 10 years of documentation of city attorneys attacking our police chief. That's what happens in this city. And that's what this vote is really all about. It is about a power play in City Hall by unelected officials who want to overturn your choice. I am the mayor, and I have authority to make this appointment. And it is my opinion that the city attorney and others have poisoned this council and biased them against me and against the police chief. And I know this is pretty heavy duty, but I am tired of this shit. I'm tired of having a city attorney who doesn't tell me what the law is, who tells me his opinion that's biased, that he tilts the table, which is
Mr.
why
Mayor,
I
I
hired my
told
own
you
attorney.
what the law says. I was giving you
Please
my
don't interrupt
opinion.
me. Do not interrupt me.
Ooh.
Do not interrupt me.
Saucy.
Do not accuse me of doing something unethical.
Why are you pissing on me? Why do you do this?
I am not pissing on you. I am giving you what
You're
the
not
Idaho
telling them
Supreme
the whole
Court
truth.
says.
You are not telling them. When I asked you last Thursday, when this agenda was approved, I said, do you have an issue with this item? And you said you did not. That's in the minutes. Why didn't you bring it up then?
I had given you my opinion. I did not want to embarrass you in front of other people.
So you're going to embarrass me in a council meeting?
You decided to continue with the motion despite legal
This
counsel's
is the
decision.
shit. You guys see the shit that's going on right now? You see the pushback from the city attorney? You wonder who's been poisoned up here, who's been told not to talk to the police association, not to talk to the interim chief, who's been told to ignore things? This is what's going on in this city, and I'm trying to fix it, but I'm getting pushback. I have a legal right to make this appointment, and if you don't like it, you can sue me.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
What?
I respectfully ask that we return to some decorum and respect for one another. We're here to do business tonight. We have an audience full of community members and teammates, and I respectfully ask that we try to control ourselves and conduct business that's best for our citizens.
Good luck. I am going to poll the council right now. Thank you. And I do admit that I get very passionate about things. I get really wound up, and I can get real excited, especially when I think I'm being abused. So I do have something in common with our current interim chief and our former chief when it comes to butting heads in City Hall, and you saw examples of that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Christy.
may I?
We didn't get the part where he said, I'm sorry, I exploded
look,
like an angry zit.
We're trying to keep this shorter.
We're keeping it moving.
We're working. The thing about this clip, I did edit the last section because he went on after he said, why you're pissing on me, to poll all 6 council members as to whether they met with such and such.
And they're
it
like,
was long and boring.
are we on trial or what? What is this?
I'm surprised that the great attorney, the great DUI attorney, Dan Scheckler, the defender of public drunks, he didn't seem to whip back to Gookin. he kind of seemed to acquiesce to him a little bit. But anyway, here's the question. Why is Gookin so animated, so emotional about retaining Captain Dave Hagar?
Yeah, well, that is a question I have. What I do know about Gookin's animation is he is from the theater, after all. He has a theater background. So I don't know. I honestly, look, I found what he had to say to be compelling. I mean, agree to disagree, but I mean, I was drawn in, and I'm like, okay, let's go. I thought it was a pretty good crash out, Willie, from watching us on YouTube. I agree with that. But I mean, I was compelled by what he had to say, but knowing that he has a theater background, I'm like, how much of that was? Yeah.
Where were you?
What? We'll be clipping that. You know what? That's going to be a new GIF.
Well, look,
new GIF.
We've had him on the show last year when he was running for mayor, as we did all 4 candidates. We had a good discussion with him, candid. But, it was really odd when all of a sudden the guy that everybody says is more of a moderate left-leaning Republican, arch enemies, Brent Reagan and the KCRCC, that all of a sudden he started cozying up to the candlelight crowd. In fact, he started attending candlelight.
Yeah.
And he was continuing to work with them through the campaign. They punked Dave Reilly. Hey, Dave, you remember that? They punked you, right? Remember Stephanie Fetzer, Dave Lou Cummings that we showed you earlier in the Mitchell Event Center? You remember when they punked you and Gookin was saved from whatever it was that you were going to confront him with? Gookin was very close, very unnaturally close to the candlelight people, including horseface Stephanie Fetzer. And at the end of it, one has to wonder, why is candlelight so enamored with Gookin?
Yes.
What is really going on? And here's my question. All my law enforcement friends out there, retired or active, what is it about Hagar that makes him this emotional?
Yes.
I mean, it could be, I don't know. Some of the things that kind of go through my mind is, were the rumors true all the years that White and Hagar were keeping lids on secrets in the town? And if Hagar is no longer there to keep the secrets, then maybe Yeager is going to find them? I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as he really believes that Hagar is a good dude. I don't know the guy personally, but this kind of a meltdown publicly should be very concerning to all of you out there in Coeur d'Alene where he is representing you. It's very bizarre.
Yeah. And the thing, because I kind of intercepted when you were asking, why is he so emotional about and seeming to driving it home to get this guy in office. And so you have to ask the question why, but it's not even that he was making a compelling presentation. If you watch, and I encourage you, go to that YouTube video and watch that fully in context and end to end and full screen, you can see his, the quivering in his chin really seems to be on the verge of tears and physically shaking so bad that you can see the back of his chair that he's connected to shaking uncontrollably. And so that is my question, just as a regular gal, not knowing any of that behind the scenes, but making the connection to, okay, you got Dan Gookin, who's been cozying up with candlelight, as Dan mentioned, and then he's sitting in this here, and we're talking law enforcement, and then, of course, we've been exposing what we have over the last couple of years. You're like, what was it about that specifically? What does Dan Gookin know that we don't know is the question it makes me ask. And what is the purpose of the emotionalism in that? Mm-hmm. And then from that, okay, we've mentioned candlelight. We have had the Altar Church, Tim Remington, John Padulla have been names coming out our mouths, out your mouth, quite a lot lately. And there is something else there to highlight. It's as much as you learn about these guys, it goes very deep, and it seems like you uncover one thing and it leads to the next thing. And this doesn't mean that all of these things, this is going to be, hey, we encourage you to watch because this is going to be the one thing that changes this forever. And I think usually most great stories don't go that way because it's a series of long, hard, tedious, that, you know, are long thought and sought after. So there is yet something else from the annals of history about Tim Remington, I think from around year 2020.
Well, it ties in with the conversation we've had lately, which is who in the hell is monitoring what's going on at Samaritan Rehabilitation Ministries that is run out of Padulla Lighthouse Ministries, aka the Altar Church, Tim Remington's business, and John Padulla set apart. If you guys think for 1 second any of the altar crowd or any of the candlelight crowd or other mega churches that are equally doing bad things, that we're going to stop talking about it, we haven't even just begun. We have so much more. And to the point from we played Tim and his admitting allowing criminals and registered sex offenders into his church where men abused 11-year-old girls, 15-year-old girls, minors that lived in John Padulla's home. This is a organization that does not really appear to be biblical in nature, but a religion business. And apparently, with all the activity that's going on, they're not being monitored very closely. I mean, here's a question. How can John Padulla run a ministry of parolees inside his home while he has his family living there? Where is Idaho Department of Health and Welfare? Where are they when it comes to monitoring that his children are next to convicts or people that have serious addiction issues? Well, let me show you a little bit about what Tim Remington had in mind back in 2020. He was appointed to fill the position, I believe it was John Green, who went to prison over tax evasion. If I remember that correctly, somebody can correct me. I'm certain the Catholic Dave Reilly, Tiki Dave, can correct the record since he came out of the woodwork tonight. So good to see you, Dave. Let's go ahead and pull up on the screen this Coeur d'Alene Press article from 2020. Tim Remington, pastor, we'll go to page 2, of the Altar Church and appointed lawmaker for this year's legislative session, said he was disappointed in Governor Brad Little's veto Tuesday of a bill that would exempt a local faith-based rehab center from state licensing. Quote, "It was a good bill," Remington said. "It really would have helped juveniles in this state and in our community," end quote. The bill, House Bill 340A, would have given the Good Samaritan Rehabilitation Center on Best Avenue in Coeur d'Alene an exemption from state licensing requirements. Had Little signed the bill, and the center would have been able to treat children 13 to 17 years old without the red tape the licensing process brings with it. In his veto letter, Litter said, that's fitting. Little said the bill did not address the safety of Idaho's children. Quote, "This legislation does not adequately ensure necessary protections for one of our most vulnerable populations," end quote. Little wrote, adolescents seeking treatment for substance use disorders. Little also stressed he was not comfortable implementing a pilot program that has no sunset period. "The governor did what the governor did, and I trust him," Remington said. "If he thinks we can live without the rehab facility, I'll have to live with that, but there's going to be more drugs, more alcohol, more suicides, and the only answer the government is willing to give us is, don't let the churches or the communities take care of it. The government wants you to be licensed by the state." The program called for a temporary alcohol drug abuse treatment facility as part of a pilot program that would have specialized in treatment for children with primary alcohol or drug abuse problems. Each child would have spent no more than 4 months in treatment, including continued care, an outdoor program, and a day school. Remington was appointed to fill John Green's, here it is, was appointed to fill John Green's seat after the Rathdrum lawmaker was convicted in federal court of conspiracy to defraud the government. Little appointed Remington to fill the seat from a list of names given to the governor's office from the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee. Listen to this, folks. The Good Samaritan Rehabilitation Center originally treated children until the state learned the facility wasn't licensed to treat them, forcing Remington to close Good Samaritan to teens in 2012.
Oh, okay. Alrighty then.
You heard the whistleblower, in her own words, describe the environment that not only she observed when she was a resident there, but also when she was a facilitator, when she worked there. The predatory nature of all the men in the program that viewed the women to be pieces of meat. The abuse by those inside. And this is why Little was wise to veto this. How much more would Tim Remington be making each year if he could get his grubby little hands on the youth without any kind of regulation? Because after all, how dare the government come in and regulate us? Oh, but you have no issue separating yourself and saying, we operate by our own, we're not paying taxes, but yet you want to use government money and other sources that come along with all these people to do your treatments. Cannot make this stuff up.
Has he tried to push anything like that through since that time? Because, I mean, this was however many years ago.
Well, it was now 6 years ago,
Yeah.
but I have not heard of anything recently.
Right.
But I mean, we already have seen the track record. How many kids just in the past 4 years that are related to the altar, to Good Samaritan Rehabilitation, to the ranch, to Set Apart Ministries, how many children have been sexually abused by members going through that program or folks that are working there?
Now, I think...
Four, at a minimum, four.
I was going to say, instead of leaving that open and not to get into all of that, you can go back to past episodes, but those are things that we have uncovered with documented evidence, news articles, and... that I guess criminal history to back that up.
Yeah.
So that, and those are recent. And so children, there are vulnerabilities in the program even now. And that's with that not even passing, that was vetoed, and you still have vulnerabilities for children and youth in those programs. So you can
and this is why it's dangerous to have these pastors that are running these organizations inside their churches also hold public office. This should be a major red flag. Because if you have those that are making the laws or enforcing the laws that are also having a side business or a major business, that's called conflict of interest. I'm actually curious how it is that you can run a business like Good Samaritan Rehabilitation Ministries. You can own all these properties that the residents are charged X amount of thousands of dollars per 3 months. It's paying for your mortgage. It's paying for your properties that you're charging. Your trust is charging back to the ministries. How in the heck can you be making money off the people that you are then ministering to on Sunday mornings? I mean, it's like a cottage industry with these guys. Does that not sink into those of you out there who have never thought about why it's not a good idea that a pastor that is overseeing recovery, also making money off of it, making some kind of financial gain, doesn't that raise your eyebrow and make you wonder, where in the world is this ever a good idea? It's snake oil salesman. It's the fake prosperity gospel type of crap. And I just can't believe we have literally a county commissioner that goes to that church. We have other elected officials that have gone to that church. I don't even know who still does or does not, but none of them put on their thinking caps and say,
yeah, this probably isn't a place that we should frequent, especially, and we have a county commissioner that should know better because several of the abuses of these children have been reported in the Coeur d'Alene press. So why do we still have at least one county commissioner? And by the way, if anybody out there can confirm that Julie Hensley also attends the altar, please let me know. This was brought up to me last week by a current candidate that said, you need to check out Julie. Julie also has publicly stated that she attends the altar church. If that's the case, the potential to have 3 or 2 county commissioners from the altar church, regardless of whether Padulla or Hensley gets it, I mean, it's mind-blowing.
Well,
mind-blowing.
Yeah, mind-blowing, but also to think that the talent pool, the political talent pool, so to speak, is so centralized to who is attending one of these 2 churches. When you have over 160,000 people in Kootenai County, and somehow the nucleus continues to be one of these 2 churches or associations therein. And what? Because, and then people don't even scratch their heads on that one because they say, well, you know, we're all conservatives. Conservative must be Christian. Republican must equal Christian, and Christian must equal Republican. So it all makes sense. And you pick one of the 2 best churches. So yeah, it's like not even questioning it. But there's more that we're going to discuss related to the candidate for Kootenai County Commissioner that you just mentioned. We're going to be digging deeper into that. So for those of you who we said, hey, somebody let John Padulla know we're going to be talking about him tonight on the program, let him know so he can watch. But hang on for that because we will be making our way toward that segment. So we're not all done talking about John Padulla. That's coming up. One of the things.
Take a look at the screen.
For
once, you're not paying attention to the screen.
No, I actually. I'm
getting a real charge out of Reilly. I mean, he's acting like a frantic lunatic. Okay, so Catholic priests, according to Reilly, I'm not Catholic, I don't know, clergy are not allowed to hold public office. 2 swords doctrine. Okay, I should read up on the 2 swords doctrine. Basically, makes it kind of maybe sound like you can't be in both worlds, right? So you have to either be in the faith or you have to be in government because they are very separate institutions. Okay, Dave, here's your Jeopardy question, Dave. If the 2 doctrines apply to Catholics, I got a question. Why in the hell did Immaculate Conception Church take COVID money to the tune of like $70-some thousand during the pandemic?
They didn't trust in the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, why is that, Dave? I mean, if we're not going to meddle in between government and the church, why is the government offering money and why is the church taking it in? Oh, I know, because the government shut the world down and the church, rather than standing up and saying, we don't comply, we don't recognize this, and actually doing their real job as the church should have, just said, yeah, give us the money, baby. Give us the money. Give us the money. We don't have to report our taxes, but give us the money. Kind of like Real Life Ministries when they received $1.1 million in PPP money. And Pastor Blood said that he was going to return all of it. And per ProPublica, they never did. All you churches that are 501c3s, you're a joke to me. I don't take any of you serious. None.
There's a comment from Willie watching us on YouTube tonight. I'm gonna bring this up because we're gonna move past this and we're gonna be talking about John Padulla running for commissioner a little bit later in the program. He was dropping some comments online today that we're gonna respond to. But Willie Everlearn on YouTube says what he's referring to is Pastor Tim Remington from the altar who runs a recovery program. Willie's opinion is you can pay him to save you from prison. Mm-hmm. No, again, views expressed are not necessarily ours, but thank you to that listener for contributing because I do know that we have had lots of reports and testimonies from many who have been through this program. And so despite the many that you may feel that you've seen who have had positive experiences and vouch for it, there's that many or more who are giving us insider tips. So it's just a matter of time before the truth comes out. The evidence is there enough in a concrete fashion where somebody's got it on tape or in writing, and it really is.
Well, how
just
about
a matter
one
of
yesterday
time.
that was able to give us the timeline?
Yes.
Including the property they were working at when, well, something tragic occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have actually within 2 or 3 days, we got that same story from a couple different sources.
Yep.
So to kind of point you in the right direction. The Watchmen Ministry, North Idaho, dropped their, through much work and effort that they put into this, dropped their 2026 voter guide, I believe, yesterday. So that is just now circulating. And I'd like to talk about why, you've got KCRCC who puts out their things that look like a voter card and it's with the bubbles filled in and telling you like, just put this in your hand, go to the polls and go down the list and fill in the bubble. That has been an option for conservative voters in Kootenai County for forever, for a very, very long time.
Don't even say conservative, people that call themselves a Republican.
I'm speaking in generalizations here because, we could go off on a whole tangent on that one. What do you see as what the Watchmen Ministry, North Idaho, what it is, this resource that they are providing to Kootenai County voters, or actually even in some of the other
North Idaho,
in this region, sorry. Why is what they are doing different?
Well, I think that what I appreciate, because I went through the system, their process back when I was a candidate.
That's right.
Had never met Dan or Elsa prior to that, Daniel or Elsa Owsley prior to that. And I know their integrity is like way up here. For example, I was filling out so many surveys that when I sent in my draft, I sent in what I thought was my final, and I had a huge section that I had not completed. It was actually, if you looked at it, it looked incomplete, like a complete moron that I was for not checking. And I emailed him once I saw it hit online, and I said, hey, I'm real sorry. I screwed this up. I didn't finish this. Can I go back in and give you the rest of my answer? And the response was more or less, no, sorry, we can't, because to maintain our integrity, we don't make any allowances. And I fully respected that. And then I felt even dumber for having asked that in the first place. But the reality of it is that they have thoughtfully gone through questions about each of the elected positions and their philosophies and their beliefs and what their goals are in the various positions. And they don't actually come out and say, vote for John Padulla, Brent Reagan, Bjorn Handine. They don't say any of that. They ask the questions and they lay the answers side by side if it is a contested race, so that people can make up their own mind as to whether or not they like what the candidate says or does not say. I find them to be valuable. What's very interesting about this time around, and you guys out there, this is the next thing that you can be doing. We're going to show this link up here. We've got this QR code. It's showing on our screen. 2 weeks ago, the QR codes were showing up, but when we later watched back, we realized that it didn't look like it did on our screen. So if you guys can't scan this, let us know. Go to this voter guide and then start sending it to everyone you know in North Idaho. Send it far and wide, post it on your social media accounts. Let people go through and read the comments. Unlike the KCRCC, which failed to go in depth with their PCs. There's like over 70, I think 72, 75 somewhere in their PCs in this county. Watchmen is the only one that did this so that if you are in your precinct, you can see for yourself what your local PC candidate has to say. And I want to talk about the magnitude of this. The magnitude is that the KCRCC has a ton of volunteers. They have a machine and they have budgets. Dan and Elsa are just two. And the amount of time that it took to not only do the 70 some PCs or however many actually responded, as well as all the other elected officials for county commissioners and assessor, all of those, we owe them a debt of gratitude for offering their time, their resources, their treasure, because they feel convicted in their beliefs to provide something for those people of faith where they can look and see firsthand what the candidates actually have to say without just going down the Brent Reagan, Jeff Tyler, Bev Gwinnett red card. Let's go ahead and pull up a couple of the surveys that I thought were pretty interesting. And I don't think we have any screenshot or the website pulled up, do we?
There's a QR code up in the corner, and that's going to take you right to Watchmen Ministry North Idaho to their website. And those voter guides are all there available for you guys to open, print out, look over, and send them along to friends and family members as well.
Here's a couple positions that I just picked because I was interested. For Precinct Committeeman 205, you have running Rick Montandon and Brent Reagan. Brent Reagan is and has been the chairman of the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, KCRCC, for a long time. I absolutely cannot stand him. I think that he is a cancer inside the organization. In fact, the KCRCC, as it currently stands, deserves to fall because of what they have done to the people of this county. Here's a question that was asked, and I'm going to read part of his response. Question number 2 that was asked both these candidates. Do you believe that the Central Committee should endorse candidates in primaries and nonpartisan elections? Why or why not? I believe they should not. Brent Reagan's final paragraph that he wrote his answer to says, the mission of the KCRCC is to enhance freedom and prosperity by promoting fiscally and socially conservative candidates who will implement the Idaho Republican Party platform as policy. Recommending candidates helps accomplish that mission. Well, no, because we have proven many times over, Brent, that you guys slant it to those that will do your bidding, your committee's bidding. And in fact, I find it hilarious that you say you want to promote socially and fiscally conservative candidates. Well, what's your excuse, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Trust Fund Baby, Mr. Mensa, when you took $70,000 plus it was forgiven of PPP money during COVID while you were manufacturing COVID ventilator parts and up and running, undoubtedly making money hand over fist, but you're a social conservative guy, right? Kind of like Reilly running your mouth. It's free money. You guys are such freaking lying hypocrites. It is astounding to me. Question number 6. Becoming a precinct committee man is the most direct way to influence your local party, shape its priorities, and fight for the principles that built this nation. Are you willing to vote for these principles even when they are not popular? Please explain your answer. Here's what Mr. Reagan had to say. I will, as I have for the last 10 years, I have stood by conservative Christian principles even when they have drawn considerable criticism from progressives. Past actions are a good indicator of future performance. Okay. Well, we know that you've definitely hired some controversial people in your organization to help you out. Conservative principles. Yeah, I think that is an ideology of Brent, not actually done in principle. Number 4 question: What do you consider the most important qualities in a candidate for local office? This is Rich. Life experience is very important. If a candidate's life experience is radically different than most people's, then they may not understand the citizen's perspective. That's Rich coming from Brent Reagan. Also consider the candidate's views and their experience regarding faith, family, and freedom as a foundation for their decisions. If they do not align with those basics, then they may not make the kind of decisions you would make. Kootenai County has over 230 elected offices with taxing authority, school boards, water districts, fire districts, etc. It is important that the candidates have the foundational experience function in those positions.
Often people with the skills to do the work lack the skills to campaign. This is where the KCRCC can help put good candidates in office so they can do good work. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, if you're going to hold office, if you're going to do the job, shouldn't you be able to campaign? I mean, that was the argument during the Bob Norris, Dan Wilson sheriff race. They would never force a debate between me and Bob, because Bob is very poorly spoken. Bob stammers. He can't keep a train of thought for nothing. We don't need an organization to prop up candidates. We need men that can lead and women that can lead, that can stand on their own and, yes, stand up to whatever is thrown at them. Bjorn Handeen. Now, Bjorn has commented on here many times. I personally don't know him. What I do know about Bjorn is he's been kind when he's dropped his comments. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. His opponent, Katie Schreiber, did not respond to Watchmen's survey. He says that his the office that he's running for, what is your name, office you're running for, and why are you running for this position? This is an interesting response. My name is Bjorn Handeen, and I'm running for Precinct Committee Man in Precinct 414. I'm running because I believe the power of the KCRCC should be used to help build a defense of Western civilization. I have no idea what that means. Interesting. Number 2, do you believe that the Central Committee should endorse candidates in primaries and nonpartisan elections? Why or why not? His response, the Central Committee exists to uphold the party platform and ensure Republican voters have clear, principled choices. When some candidates align with those principles and others do not, voters benefit from transparency. Okay, cool. Number 4, what do you consider the most important qualities in a candidate for local office? Now, I believe that Bjorn sits on the board. I don't know. But Bjorn, if you're watching, you can correct us on this. In fact, I just saw something today because you work for the lobbying group, political lobbying group, McShane, and apparently McShane was up here in Kootenai today, and you guys opened some new office or something. Okay, what do you think is the most important quality? There are thinkers. You respond and say there are thinkers, there are talkers, and there are doers. Our society is degenerating before our eyes, so I believe we need more doers. Cool. Number 8. Are you willing to hold party leaders and candidates accountable to stay focused on principle over compromise? How will you do this? Love this answer. Accountability means being willing to speak up when something is off track, and to support candidates who demonstrate consistency and follow through. It also means we should not attack the messenger when community members blow the whistle on questionable behavior by candidates and elected officials. I will invite continued engagement by community watchdogs, and I will never be afraid to reverse course when warranted. That was very interesting. I'm curious if there's a time where he has actually had to do that. Hold somebody accountable, listen to a whistleblower, and go, Central Committee, we need to stop all engines, reverse course, not make this endorsement. I mean, I find it hilarious that you have Brent Reagan sitting there talking about, the importance and conservative values, and yet he never held Bob Norris accountable when Bob Norris used illegally the Kootenai County Sheriff's badge, allowed the FOP, the Masonic Fraternal Order of Police, to use that star in an advertisement back in 2024 that went out to households in Kootenai County. And part of the endorsements that the Fraternal Order of Police were making happened to be for PCs that were not endorsed by the KCRCC. In fact, they were part of what was being called the North Idaho Republicans, or the Dirty 30. In fact, Dan Scheckler, the attorney that you saw there, the drunk attorney, he's not drunk, but the attorney that represents the drunks, that's now a city councilman, he was one of the Dirty 30 that got in 2024. Reagan never held anybody accountable. did he call for an investigation by the AG or the Secretary of State to say, how come this the sheriff is allowed to break the law when it comes to using county resources in violation for political purposes? Reagan is a blowhard yapper that is only right now in the position, barely by a margin, because he's conned a lot of people since 2016 when he built this overarching, tyrannical central committee and buying on the gullibility of stupid people that were moving from oppressive governments like California and Washington and others, and they were so hell-bent to preserve the republic that instead of studying what the founders had to say about the limits and the balances and the responsibility of the citizens and how our government works, they just listened to the Central Committee. The sky is falling. If we let anybody else into this organization, it'll be a cancer. It'll destroy us. We can't argue with our facts. We can't argue with our beliefs and have civil discourse. We have to rule with an iron fist, and we're going to use all the money. And the fact that the Central Committee is the game in town, and we're going to do what hasn't ever been done before, and even at the national level they don't do. We're going to go in and we're going to choose our candidates in the primary, and we're going to claim that we're vetting them and rating them. And it's not really an endorsement, but it kind of is. And we're going to spend $80,000, like Brent Reagan says, goes out to every household in Kootenai County. And you're watching the North Iowa Republicans that have been marginalized because somebody claims they're rhinos. I don't know. I take people individually one by one to figure out what they are, who they are. And there is no test inside the Constitution for what a true conservative is versus what isn't a true conservative. But we're going to have this stranglehold on. And Jeff Tyler, shame on you for being a part of this. As the party here in Kootenai County goes down in flames, you get to own part of that. Because if you would have let the people and rallied the people to look into the candidates, and here's an idea, how about actually have debates?
Okay, because I've been waiting. I've been waiting to chime in. That this is my concern, because while I very much value this resource put out by Watchmen Ministries, I was trying so hard with everything else going on today to get through when I finally opened those documents. Okay, these precinct races where there's over 70 of them, and they really fly under the radar for a lot of people because it's a more powerful position than what most people realize. So it's important to understand who is running for that seat in the precinct that you're in or where you'll be voting. Here's my concern. I noticed with one of the candidates, I don't even know if I don't even know about the name. I could 100% tell that she used Chat GPT to fill in the blanks.
Oh, fascinating.
100% tell. There are tells. I think there are things you can do to use chat for benchmarks and then write around it, and it would kind of be undetectable. But in this case, there were too many earmarks, and it was blatantly obvious. My concern is, and it's going along with what you're saying and back to, because you transitioned into live debate.
Yeah.
And I just think this is something that has been squelched nationwide. And then especially now with the advent of this AI tech and chat, these fill in the blank and their biased answers, you can tell it who your competition is, tell it about your county. It's going to aggregate information to say straight across the board without you doing any work. Put together the most slick and flowery answer to this question that's going to appeal to the most people that are on records through like stats and analytics, and it's going to fill in the blank. And then, and the reason I'm not naming names is because that it actually is.
Why not name it?
Well, this was okay. So Aaron Barnard is running for one of the precincts.
Oh, Aaron!
And it was
see this?
Aaron.
See this face? This is from gluten.
Yeah. See, I don't have that here, but so the concern is when we know there are people who are running for some of these positions who we've spent much time exposing, and their vile nature and the lengths that they will go to reach an end.
Yeah.
and you read the answers side by side. And when I read it, when I read what Stephanie Fetzer said, I'm like, yes, well written, Stephanie.
You make an awesome
I
point.
don't disagree.
Yeah.
But that is where we are. And
you
so
can just hear now.
devoid. You agreed with me, and I didn't
yeah.
use ChatGPT.
No, I didn't see signs of that. In
Maybe Reilly
Stephanie's-
should go put his resources into dogging actual problem makers in the community.
And there
like
are
Aaron and Stephanie.
Yeah. Well, because it's align, misalign, align, misalign. You guys are all in toxic relationships. But yeah, I mean, and there are other chat sources that can do that too. So while I didn't see evident signs of that in Fetzer's responses, and I thought it was very well written. And what I actually truly believe that Stephanie Fetzer is organically a good writer. I've watched her do it. I have watched that and watched her track record for that before these resources were necessarily
Can
available.
demon-possessed people be naturally inspired? Just a question. Question.
Well, inspired by what? I didn't say inspired by what. I said, naturally a good writer. But yeah, so Aaron Barnard, I would say 99.9% use ChatGPT to
What
fill in the
precinct
blank.
number is she? Do you remember?
I don't. I
So,
actually don't. One of you
folks,
guys could look it up.
Here's
and
something. Another thing
put
that
it
you
in the
can do
comments.
is you can go in, read, even if you're on that precinct, read anything that you think is suspect, and then call people out. Ask the question.
And I guess that's just my word of caution too, that do whatever other cross-checking that you can. I've put up in our story, have you Googled Stephanie Fetzer lately?
Yeah.
So
I have.
don't-
I have Googled
yes.
her.
Don't
I
just
got a virus when I did it.
malware detected. Don't just go to one resource. Don't just listen to us. Go see what KCRC is putting out. Go look at what Watchmen Ministries has produced and read the answers to those questions. And straight Google people and see what you can find. And I know a lot of us will say, I don't have the time to do it. But I'm telling you right now, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous position, because if you just go by what you're reading on paper, people can say anything. They know what they're running for office. They know what you want to hear. They know how to fill in the blank. So it's a sad day, but it is. That's the nature of where we are. So we are not affiliated with Watchmen Ministries. I think you gave a very good statement toward why we know who Daniel and Elsa Owsley are, and what it is that they're doing in contribution to the community to put these voter guides out. But they're in no way aligned or affiliated with us. But we have, because we see this as a valuable resource, shared it to our platforms to say, here is Watchmen Ministries Voter Guide 2026 that just came out. Here are the links. Go check it out. Well, when we did that today.
Well, hold on. I actually brought on the slide.
Oh, please do.
I wasn't finished with the slide because this was going to set you up.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go. So my PDF document?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
next page.
You have for county commission, seat 1.
Oh.
You have Julie Hensley running against John Padulla.
Mercy me.
And wouldn't you know it, Julie took the time to fill out every question. Padulla didn't respond at all. So you can see firsthand that he absolutely did not respond. The next slide is going to set you up for exactly what you wanted to talk about.
So are you going to say something about
No,
this?
I think you should say this because you have this. You've got this.
We posted links to the Watchmen Ministry 2026 voter guide. Put that on our Facebook page today. And a gal named Susan Richmond said, interesting that John Padulla for commissioner, she tagged him, so she was asking for it. Interesting that John Padulla for commissioner didn't respond. That was the beauty of Dan showing you that previous slide, because you could see those answers side by side where Julie Hensley at least took the time to answer those questions. John Padulla did not. Okay, curious. Well, John Padulla, since he was tagged, decides to respond to Susan's comment. And he said to Susan, it's because I don't associate with anyone tied to the Idaho sheriff who spews lies. Sorry, I responded and filled out all of the other voter guides to every other organization. The bias and lunacy is out of control.
Oh my. Was there a response to that? We didn't have time to put it by prep time to put it in, but do you have a response that you can read?
I do. I do. And there is one that I will put up on the screen. We, the Idaho sheriff, did not respond to John Padulla's comment because we knew we could have a conversation about it tonight. But because what John Padulla had to say affected Watchmen Ministry North Idaho and was reflecting poorly, and they were, Padulla was casting this net that because of the association that they have with the Idaho sheriff, that this is problematic. And so the crew over at Watchmen Ministry thought, it makes sense for us to be able to respond to this. That would be fair. And now I'm doing all kinds of crazy things.
Well, you're looking for it. We are going to address John's allegations of lies, and we're going to throw him on his ass again and give him a little tune-up so that we can jog his memory.
Good point. Stick around because this doesn't end here. Right now I'm reading, we're going to read together Watchmen Ministry's response to John Padulla for having left that comment, but we're going to continue forward in this segment because I know that both Dan and I have specific responses for John based on what he had to say about our supposed lies. Watchmen Ministry North Idaho responds to John Padulla for commissioner, and they say, this response is childish and very revealing about your character. How can the citizens of Kootenai County trust that you will represent all of them when you have publicly stated that you don't associate with anyone you don't like or who has called you to task? As a county commissioner, you must represent all of the citizens of Kootenai County. Anytime you take a leadership role, you will be criticized by some people. This is the reality that anyone who wants to be a leader faces. It isn't enjoyable, but being a leader, especially being a leader of a county of over 160,000 people, means that criticism will occur. Throwing a temper tantrum when someone says or does things that you don't like does not display the qualities of a leader. It displays the qualities of an out-of-control teenager. Furthermore, your statement is very clear that you would abuse your power and status to disenfranchise anyone that does not agree with you. This is a dangerous mentality. It's precisely what we do not need in Kootenai County or anywhere else. We take offense at your suggestion that you will dictate whom we will associate with. That is not mature Christianity. That is not characteristics of a pastor. That is not what a leader demands of anyone. It goes on to say, by your own words, you have proven that you cannot be trusted with such an important position or any other elected position. Clearly, you would abuse it. For the record, the Wilsons and us are not always on the same page on everything, but we respect each other's ideas, opinions, and views. That is what civil dialogue is supposed to look like. I'm saddened to see what a poor example of Christian conduct you have displayed here, and we consider your comments as a personal attack. We have respected you and allowed your views to be your own without any public scrutiny, yet you have very publicly attempted to discredit us because we might be associated in some way to the Wilsons. Again, how ridiculously childish.
Well stated. And John should know this. When you run for office, and I recall, because it wasn't that long ago, my first and only time, just to continually remind you, I'm never running for office again. You have to be very measured in what you say on the campaign trail because you are representing everyone. Doesn't mean that you sell yourself out. I mean, I met with the Democrats and I told them right from the very beginning, I am not going to change my worldview. They are here. This is who I am, but here are the things that we do align on, like the Bill of Rights, equal protection under the law. You can't go around like John's doing and making these accusations. And they're exactly right. You're going to get criticism from all sorts. And when you're in that position, you take it. you respond appropriately. You can be direct, you can be firm, you don't have to be a doormat. That's not what she's saying, but you just made a bunch of allegations there, John, or statements rather, about the untruthfulness, the spewing of the lies. Well, I have a question for you, John. You've never one time yet come out and shown us what any of these lies are. In fact, I wanted to jog your memory just a little bit of some of the things that we have spoken about you and what you have been involved with and or have done, not only as a candidate, but as a pastor, and some of the things that you've said. And just kind of like during the campaign when you were lying about me, and witnesses like Amy Fonstrom knew this and can attest to it. And we told you to reverse the lie, and we showed you the proof, and you continue to lie. You will forever be to me a liar until you repent of that. So I have on firsthand that you, John Padulla, are a liar. Now, let's go ahead and watch this video that I want to remind people of, that John said of his own accord, free statements in this podcast about some of his background. And then I'm going to show receipts that apparently John is classifying as lies. Let's listen to John once again in his own words.
I got into gangs, started selling speed and crystal, glass, ice, all of that type of stuff they had down there. I ended up on meth for 17 years from the age 13 to 30. I'd used methamphetamines and pretty much everything else, but that was kind of the main thing that I used. Got into dealing heavy. Some of my friends were cooking meth, and I started cooking meth with some of them. I was always getting arrested, always in trouble. I had no care for women. God radically changed my life, and not progressively in the blink of an eye. I was a different person. The rage, the violence, the anger, the foul mouth, the pornography. I was bound by pornography for 21 years. Not to be graphic, but I would, be sexual with women, sometimes multiple women at once. And when I would leave, I would still be driving in my car looking at DVD players with pornography playing in my car plugged into my cigarette lighter. Wow. I mean, just bound by sexual perversion, and for 21 years.
It's floored at what God can do in a person's life. It's amazing.
I couldn't have kids. I've been with almost 1,000 women, not safe. When I was in prison for 6 years, I had some pain in my
region.
Yes.
So, Padulla, you're the one that talks about your criminal history before Christ. You're the one that was the drug manufacturer, the 17-year drug user, the deliverer. You abused women, whatever that means. You have slept with almost 1,000 women, couldn't have kids. That's just some of what you have said about yourself, and you're running for public office, and somehow you think, well, that none of these topics are legitimate questions right now as to why it is a detriment to the taxpayers and the citizens of Coeur County to have somebody that was involved with as much criminal activity by your own admission and abuse of women for that long to be a representative here. You got to have a much cleaner background, man. It's kind of like law enforcement. You could have done all that stuff and repented and been a clean man. I guarantee you would have never been hired by any reputable law enforcement agency because you have too much baggage. But apparently you can be a pastor. Apparently you can run for office, and your psychopath supporters will continue to vouch for you because I've been saved. I'm redeemed. Let's pull up this next slide here. Let's go over a few of the things that we've discussed about Padulla. Well, here's one in 2024, which has still not been answered, not by John Padulla, nor has it been answered by the Secretary of State or the AG or the local elections office. Padulla appears to have received $4,000 in duplicate maximum contributions
in the primary that were earmarked for the general election. He did not win the primary, did not go into the general election, and it appears never returned those $4,000. There's one. Haven't heard anything about whether or not he can refute that one. Let's go to the next slide. This was just recently. Again, illegal maximum contributions by the same owners of two different companies by $1,000. We caught that. We had to turn that in. He wasn't paying attention. Again, might be a minor slip, but he kind of has this pattern that's building with his inability to properly allocate or handle his contributions. Let's see. That's covering up my screen.
Yeah, it was an important comment.
Okay, we'll pull it back up here in just a second.
Bring it back up later. Thanks for sharing that.
And I'm already blind, so I can't see half this stuff. And then you have the Fraternal Order of Police, the Masonic Police Union, right here at the CUNY County Sheriff's Office, that just years ago talked to the public about how bad Padulla was, how dangerous he was, his criminal history, his multiple arrests, why he was a danger to the community. And then without any warning, 2 years later, they go back and without any retractions, without any explanation, the guy right here that you're seeing on screen, they said, too dangerous to trust, convicted felon, arrested 32 times, former fugitive, 7th grade dropout, flush with home builder donations. Happens to go to church with Leslie Duncan, also a vote no on that list. Oh, gave Dave a little snippet.
You done?
So let me be more bold to Padulla. Where have I lied, Padulla? What are the things that I have shown up on the screen that you have yet to put into writing to refute? What I do know is that while you were part of the ministry at the altar, whether it is any of the different organizations, Good Samaritan, Set Apart, your own ministry, whatever, where my understanding is guys that are waiting to get into the ranch come to your place. Tell me this. Did your own children, yes or no, John, did your own children get sexually abused by one of the inmates? The one that was recently convicted and went to jail for assault, sex assault on 2 minors. Was that man inside your home or part of your organization, meaning part of your ministry as one of the residents? If that is the case, you have zero discernment to allow your own children to be abused. I have not heard this refuted. I've heard multiple times that this is exactly what took place, that there is no separation. In fact, I ran into a kid the other day in our conversation. He said, I've been to Padulla's house many times. I've never seen a separation between the residents that were inside the house and John Padulla's own family. What do you have to say for that, John? Answer it. Answer the public whether or not you have good discernment by allowing your children, the people that you're supposed to protect more than anybody else, the ones that you have a first duty to serve. Or how about this? Was it a lie? Or did not Mason Poole receive oral sex from your wife, another resident in your program? The one where Tim Remington said that he almost lost Amanda, he almost lost you, and that you were going back to your old ways really quick, you were spiraling? Where's the lie, John? See, John, you have so much baggage that in your life, you shouldn't be anywhere near the Kootenai County Commissioner's office. I don't even think that you should be a pastor. And we're receiving daily reports of guys naming the dates and times with the things that you were doing in your aggressive behavior in the very beginning when you were a pastor. Where are the lies, Padulla? I've said them many times, what I've already repeated tonight, and you have yet to come officially and address them. So it's a challenge, Padulla. Show me where I'm wrong on any of these things, or give an explanation. And to all of you rabid supporters of Padulla. Probably most of you are addicts, which I understand that, and I'm not judging you from that, but it's like you are so enamored because you got some kind of help. Some of you may be fully recovered. Some of you have relapsed numerous times. Some of you were treated so horribly that you have called it the scam that it is. I thought it was bad when we were discussing Paul Van Noy, the guy that admitted on tape to molesting his next door's neighbor when he was a teenager, whose sister said that he was molesting her when they were kids for several years. The man that failed to report his own daughter's sex assault that took place in his very own home by a neighbor man. I thought the rabid people that came out and supported Paul Van Noy were messed up. Some of these guys that I know for a fact are themselves sexual abusers. But the general parishioners at Candlelight that were just so pro Paul, we got a lot more coming out on you, Paul. Be waiting. Be waiting. But I found a new level of stupid when it comes to Padulla supporters. You guys are so stupid, you can't even figure out that there is a difference between I'm redeemed, I'm a believer and redeemed, and my sins are no more. Doesn't mean that they never occurred. It means that it's not held against you from a salvation standpoint. But it doesn't mean that you get started at ground zero socially from a civil standpoint. It does not mean that that you can do the most heinous thing. But if you've repented, man, and like Tim said, well, I can't hold that against them anymore. They're saved. And well, yeah, you can when it comes to holding people responsible and accountable for their actions. People fulfill sentences all the time for their convictions. There are long consequences, some of them lifelong. But your arguments are beyond the most stupid that I have ever seen. We got one today. What was that one that occurred right before? I think it was below Elsa's comment.
Yeah, there was an argument about it's trash. We posted the Watchmen Ministry voter guide, and the comment from a Padulla supporter was that this was lies and trash. And so the exchange that then had to ensue to explain this is a voter guide that's been published, and Padulla got in the comment section and himself admitted that he chose not to answer the questions from that questionnaire. What part of this is lies and trash? Mm-hmm. So they've just been robotically programmed, like repeat after me, and the brain cells are, just not coming together. I do have something I want to add to this, but I don't want to
Nope, I'm
interrupt.
done right. But bottom line is, Padulla, put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. Show me where any of these claims, these things that I brought receipts for and heard firsthand witnesses that talked about Mason. In fact, do we have those videos of Mason? I want to show real quick before you get into yours. I want to show you Mason Poole that was with John Padulla's wife, as has been stated by now multiple people. Let's go ahead and play it.
My name's Mason. I'm just looking for somebody to talk to. Hit me up. You could always end up with guys like this. But if you hit me up, I promise I'll change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up?
This was posted just fairly recently, and I'll conclude before I turn this back over to you, because I can't wait to hear what you have to say, is I checked on his DOC status, and it appears that he right now is considered to be a fugitive. Hasn't been checking in with his probation officer. So, again, Padulla, you're the one that put yourself out here. You're the ones that wanted to tell everyone you'd slept with almost 1,000 women. And we're talking about the sexual dysfunction that's in your life and all the other problems that you're bringing potentially into the county because of your past actions. Prove me wrong. And don't call me a liar or Elsa and Dan or Watchmen liars anymore if you yourself can't provide the proof of these so said lies. Okay, go ahead.
There's going to be a couple of things that I follow this with because we had a comment from Elizabeth Wolf, which is going to be very important to address as it's connected to campaign and marketing stuff. And she has insider knowledge. But we had this comment for those who say, okay, Dan Wilson has presented a very cogent argument as to why John Padulla is a liability for that office. We got into somewhat of the theological discussion when that's the debate that his supporters have, you know, the redeemed debate. This gal, her name's Amber Marie, dropped this as a public comment on one of our posts regarding Padulla, where we've really been hashing this out. And I want to share this comment with you because this brings a perspective that you and I are not able to bring. So Amber Marie says, and I don't have this to put up on the screen. If somebody wanted to cross-check it, I can certainly send it to you. Let me know. So Amber Marie says, every addict can relapse. No one is above that. Even those that are strong in the faith and recovery can relapse. There are reservations that addicts don't even know they have. For example, I God-fearing, I had years and years of clean time. I held important positions in my community, had a great job, graduated college, never, ever even thought about using. I would have bet millions on never using again. And then I had a stepson pass away at 12 suddenly, followed by even more traumas within the family. I relapsed. Drugs are cunning and powerful. They can have a grip on you when you don't even know it. To believe as an addict that you have complete control over that is complacent. To believe you are above it is a scary place to be. As an addict, I have to humble myself and remember that. With that being said, I believe a responsible addict in recovery would have the humility to not put themselves in a position of power in the form of policy making or politics. An addict's testimony is a powerful tool, one that can change lots of lives. That's where the power should lie, along with the power that strong faith gives you. God is good and definitely protects my recovery. However, the devil is in the drugs. One moment of weakness is all it takes. Even non-addicts have those moments. Even very faithful and spiritual people have those moments. Addicts are not above that. I will also say that I thank God for working in the lives of those walking around clean today, including his work in my own life. And then she tacks on one additional comment. She said, I must add to this by saying, I agree. There is a liability aspect to this that people are overlooking. Even if John never uses again, which I hope and absolutely believe is possible, there are loads of ways his past can be a liability to that position. Even if he did the right thing when faced with any possibility, the liabilities are truly limitless. I do think it's a beautiful thing that so many people's hearts want to take a chance, but logically speaking, the risk is still there. The consequences of past actions are relevant to that position.
What was her name? Amber what?
Amber Marie.
Okay.
Oh, so we appreciate that. I might have had a short exchange thanking her for sharing that comment and making it public today, but I couldn't have said it better. And like I was telling you, obviously she's bringing a perspective of having walked that walk and just very eloquently said. And I think a powerful point, and the words that really stuck with me is the liabilities are limitless. And I thought that was a powerful statement. So on to Elizabeth Wolf, shared with this a public comment. So I appreciate this, Elizabeth. This was a bold stance, and she wants to say, and her logo's here, Maddie's Digital Marketing, I believe is the name of the business. She says, John Padulla talking about lying. We should talk about John's recent lie to people in the community that he, quote, fired Maudie's. And so Elizabeth Wolf is affected firsthand by this lie. She continues to say, the truth was we walked away from his campaign and gave him a full refund. So that if Padulla is wanting to position other people who are calling him to accountability liars, I appreciate Elizabeth Wolf, Maudie's Marketing, sharing your perspective to say, you know, this lie has been spreading around the community by John Padulla himself, and it kind of looks like Elizabeth has had about enough of it.
Well, I think that, you know, anybody that would continue, especially if they call themselves followers right now of the way, followers of Christ, don't look at everything that's been presented, including the inability of John, while he is part of these different organizations within the altar church, Padulla Lighthouse Ministries, and all the sexual abuse that has occurred under his watch, and continue to support him now to go from church into public life. I question what spirit you have in you that isn't helping you discern the absurdity of this. The scripture is full of men who fell and were held accountable. They were saved, they were redeemed, but there were long-term consequences. Go look at King David. Look at all the consequences in his life for many of his sins. Look at Eli, when Eli's kids were running amok, doing whatever they wanted, doing vile things. Eli lost rather to Samuel. All right. I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, you know, Dave Reilly's been hanging on for a long time here.
Who?
Giving him.
Oh, Dave. Yeah.
You're making that boy wait.
The guy that was behind the library book that Norris supposedly went and grabbed from the library, that Reilly has told people that he actually provided that library book. I wonder if Reilly would actually cop to that.
Did you check it out? Did you check out, Dave Reilly, did you check out that book with your library card and then hand it over to Norris?
Maybe he did it with his wife's card. I don't know. Interesting question.
I want to know.
Mm-hmm. Let's play this next video. Let's get into what Dave Reilly is just antsy to find out when he told me to go fuck myself.
Oh.
That wasn't very nice. Well, it's a video. What do you mean, which video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which one?
It's one of the 6. It was the last one we had. There's a guy standing up at a podium.
Oh,
there you go.
Podium guy.
A few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred. In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front.
Naughty, naughty, naughty. Southern Poverty Law Center. Marxists, they have never done anything for the good of the American people. They're liars. This does not surprise me in the slightest. But here's where it's interesting. It's interesting because they were funding the opposition to behave, to get disruptors in there to behave and do the things that they claim that all these groups are doing. So they're paying provocators to cause problems so that Southern Poverty Law Center can come out and go, see what these guys do? They're conspiring. They're anti-Semites. Look at them. We got to get rid of them.
It's kind of like creating burner profiles to argue with yourself.
Right, Stephanie?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to our next slide. This is going to be interesting. for those of you who have not been following. Southern Poverty Law Center. Read this real quick, page 2. Again, acting attorney Todd Blanche, he's worse than Bondi, by the way, announced charges against the group on Tuesday, alleging it had defrauded donors by using their money to secretly pay informants inside extremist organizations. The group spent more than $3 million between 2014 and 23 to informants involved with groups like the KKK and the National Socialist Party of America. Go to the next page. One field source for the Southern Poverty Law Center was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia, and attended the event at the direction of the SPLC, according to prosecutors. The anti-Semitic rally had hundreds of participants and saw a protester drive his car into a group of counter-protesters, killing one woman and leaving at least 19 others injured. The rally was held amid controversy over the removal of Confederate monuments, which local governments opted to take down in the wake of the Charleston church shooting. In 2015, a white supremacist shot and killed 9 people at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Let's go to our next page from the Coeur d'Alene Press, December 11th of 2023. Idaho Freedom Foundation quietly hired Dave Reilly to help shape messaging. Now, Brent Reagan, chairman of the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, also happens to be the chairman of the Idaho Freedom Foundation. So apparently they hired Reilly. I wonder how he got that job. I wonder how Reilly got that job.
He's wearing the North Idaho Rejects Hate t-shirt.
Page, let's go. I'll read the first part of page. Let's go page 2. In the months leading, according to the Dan Walters Investigative West, December 11th, in the Coeur d'Alene Press, in the months leading to the infamous 2017 Unite the Right Tiki Torch rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, then talk show radio host Dave Reilly, who has been popping up today, had some messaging strategy tips for the attendees from the alt-right, the internet-savvy collection of racist and anti-Semitic groups that arose during the Trump era. Using the screen name Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, Davy Crockett Reilly was part of a private invitation-only online group involved with brainstorming, planning, and promoting the rally. Courtroom testimony and leaked chat messages subsequently revealed. Now, didn't that last article say that they were paying agitators that were specifically helping set that event up?
Yeah, that's what's
And Dave Reilly was part of the invitation-only online group, brainstorming and planning and promoting the rally. He chided members for posting a Nazi meme publicly on Facebook where the left could use it against them. He advised alt-right gays to stay the effing closet, which does sound like Dave. Effing closet. He live streamed a Charlottesville KKK rally a month before the event. And the top organizer of the upcoming alt-right rally shared it as motivation for his followers to recruit more attendees. And he was one of those calling for marching straight through the Commons with torches for the night rally, arguing that nobody would expect it and it would give us the opportunity to take photos and videos and lots of good propaganda. I'm in favor of at Davy Crockett plan, responded a North Carolina state organizer of the rally, a leader in the white nationalist group Identity Evropa. And when the Torchlight March for the night rally finally happened, Reilly was there to promote, quote, unbelievable drone footage, unquote, on the rally on Twitter known as X. 6 years later, Reilly, now a political operative in Idaho, has landed a new messaging gig helping to shape the communication strategy for the conservative Idaho Freedom Foundation, arguably the most powerful political activist group in the state. Now, next page. It has long been said to me, as soon as I found out who this Reilly character was, by men that would know, remember I was former law enforcement, that have always suspected that Reilly was paid opposition, that Reilly gets himself involved in all kinds of controversies in order to whip people up, doing kind of like what the Southern Poverty Law Center was doing, while he's claiming, I'm a conservative, man. I'm against those Jews. I'm against those blacks. I'm against all the people. Like, I think he said at the Mark Fitzpatrick governor, heterosexual. Mark Fitzpatrick is running for governor right now against Brad Little in Idaho. And they had this heterosexual
event in lieu of Pride.
Yeah.
And it was poorly attended. And Reilly's up there, and they were talking about how clean Boise or Eagle or one of those cities was. And he said it was basically, and I'm quoting, guys. I'm paraphrasing rather, that it's because there's no blacks there. So Reilly, as far as I'm concerned, has always been a race baiter. He's one of those guys that I've never trusted. He can't swear, by the way. He's like the absolute funniest dude I've ever heard.
It's kind of like when I try to
swear.
When I try to swear, I can't.
Just don't do it.
It's like, yeah, it's cute, but
so I think it's funny that Reilly. Now we're starting to see some potential. I'm not saying that this is 100% true, but I think it's very interesting. I started calling him Tiki Dave. In fact, you know what all started this? I was pretty much leaving him alone.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I was running for sheriff, some lady that was a supporter waving a sign was wearing a Star of David cape.
Oh, yeah.
And he immediately started lambasting me and claiming that I was part of Mossad or something. I about had enough of his mouth because he's a little twerp that runs his mouth all the time. He's constantly in the middle of controversies and getting his ass handed to him.
But does he ever really?
No, he doesn't do anything memorable.
No. Does he ever really get in trouble?
Well, that's the real question.
Do you think is he protected, and really he's just running around trying to get anybody and everybody whipped up?
That's what
and
I'm more
he can
tended
float
to believe.
between all Democrat, Republican, this idea, that idea, Taco Gate, whatever the thing, swapping out flyers, sending people over there. There's never really any consequences, and that's one of those things that make you go, okay, the guy's entertaining. He kind of floats around and does all this stuff. But if you tried to pull one stunt, if you tried to pull one of these stunts, I mean, you'd be like excommunicated from the county, and I mean, that would be that. So how does a dude like this just kind of float?
Well, I don't know, but we need to start asking the questions, and we need to start looking closer. And here's what I'm going to say to the end. So Dave, I mean, the whole show wasn't about you, Tiki, but we do have questions because you were in the middle of this stuff. And I don't know if this is him trying to call me or not. Somebody's blowing my phone up.
That's right.
Whoever if that is him and gave him my number, bad on you. We're no longer friends. No. I'm not going to pick up my phone. It's my show, Dave. I'm not talking to you. We're going to talk about you.
Is he ever going to get? I mean, really, is that how this is going to be?
Absolutely not. The day
happen?
we have some things that he did that will never be fixed when it comes to us. I will never give the guy the time of day. So ask the question, as you start digging through this funding, what is Dave Reilly really a part of? Could be nothing. Might be nothing. But like you brought up,
dark money.
He's constantly in the middle of some controversy. Brent Reagan was pretty close with him. He was at the Idaho Freedom Foundation, apparently, until people started going, hey, why is this guy that was part of Charlotte?
Yeah.
Why is he now up here involved in Idaho Freedom Foundation work?
Yeah. You're just popping off on the mouth all the time. You just don't get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go, Dave. You can now put your own podcast together. I'm certain that you need another topic. So go ahead and rebut it. Tell us exactly why you're not involved.
He really wants you to pick up the phone.
Nah.
Dan Wilson. All right. That's Dave Reilly. Tiki Dave.
Tiki Torch Dave. Agent Tiki. To be proper. Agent Tiki.
I knew something. I knew it wasn't like flowing.
Maybe
like
he's a confidential human source. Maybe he's paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know.
Okay, we're at a couple of hours here. I know that we talked about a little bit on surveillance. You had an update, do you got a couple of minutes for that before we wrap it up?
I think we're so late now. Let's just we'll push it in towards next week.
You are over it. So yeah, stick around. There's always going to be something new actually in that surveillance.
Dan Gookin can write, since he's the author of the original For Dummies book.
Okay.
Maybe he could write, and Dave might benefit from this, although I don't think he really likes Gookin and won't give him any money. Maybe he'll pirate it or steal the book from the library. But he could learn Swearing for Dummies would be a good one. And how not to be a Fed or a confidential human source or controlled opposition for dummies. That might be a good book for Gookin to write. Maybe we could kill two birds with one
Dave
stone.
Reilly, I know what he did. I got it figured out.
Yeah.
He never checked out the book from the library that Norris was parading around on his campaign stunt. What he did was he came forward through another source at the end of your campaign and tried to use it as a distraction to say he's going to release this thing, and it was going to get you all excited, like this was going to be whatever, it was going to get you over the finish line because we're going to expose Norris once and for all. And it just was a distraction.
Oh, Dave Reilly went on the record of saying he endorses every candidate. This is why Dave Reilly's such a joke. He endorses every candidate, agrees with every candidate that the KCRCC put out, including Norris, which, again, if we're going to go down Reilly's duplicitous behavior, he rallies all the time against Jews. He, talks about the Jews and how they're taking over the world. And what does he do? He then supports Bob Norris, who brags that he trained with Mossad and Shin Bet. So you can't make this stuff up. Reilly supports Bob Norris, who willingly and still is bragging about that he was working in Israel and training in Israel with Mossad. So do what you want with it. I'm not going to get into the middle of it, but I think it's hilarious.
If you know the right people, you run with the right people, it doesn't have to make sense. Yeah. I don't know why you haven't figured that out yet.
He thinks that the Cooney County Task Force of Human Rights, because they're pretending they don't like him, that means that he can't possibly be a paid actor. Oh, and Ballsy McFadden. We were going to talk about this because when all this came out about the DOJ going after the Southern Poverty Law Center, let's bring up again Patriot Front. Okay. In Coeur d'Alene, 2022, coincided with the drag show that Summer Bushnell lied about, or the performer rather.
She wasn't even at the performance.
20 plus men that were part of the Patriot Front group rolled into Coeur d'Alene. They were stopped by Coeur d'Alene police and Idaho State Patrol. And arrested. Okay, look, I've read all about it. I didn't like the way Coeur d'Alene handled it. Obviously, there were what I believe is borderline civil rights violations, failure to provide discovery. The city of Coeur d'Alene handled it horribly, and it cost the taxpayers millions of dollars, as I understand it. However, I asked Bob Norris this 1 year before I ran because it always shocked me. This is during the Biden era, and we know about Governor Whitmer. We know about all the setups that are constantly going on by the feds. So why was Bob Norris, Mr. Constitutional Law and Order, big hotshot from Los Angeles, why did he refuse when these Patriot Front members came in and were stopped and arrested by Coeur d'Alene PD? Why did Bob Norris refuse, as the chief law enforcement officer of the county, to conduct his own independent investigation to try to find out who all these people really were? Now, I know Casey Whalen's done a lot of work, some really good work, and it's his belief that they are all legitimate guys that, were organically thrown together and there's no conspiracy. I'm not so convinced. I think that North Idaho is ripe for setups like this, like the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing. The question should be asked why the sitting sheriff had a golden opportunity during the Biden administration when the FBI and the DOJ were out of control, as if they aren't still now, but they're a little more over the top back then. Mr. Constitution Sheriff refused. He absolutely did not get involved. Well, I had a state legislator tell me when I was running in 24, this legislator from North Idaho has been in office for a long time, told me that Bob Norris had pre-knowledge that the event was going to occur and collaborated with federal and state law enforcement to execute this event. So make that what you will with it. It's too late. I want to go smoke a cigar. I'm done.
Dave Reilly still got a lot more questions for you, and he had Casey Whalen on his program today.
Cool. All right.
Lots of other questions he thinks you should be asking
Dave,
instead of pointing fingers at him.
Dave, quit being a pest.
Well, you're the one that brought his name up. You brought him into this.
He's in the public eye.
You brought him into this. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No. Stay strong and courageous. Pray for my buddy Jim, who's still facing a very tough battle with his cancer. Pray for my friend Ann and her recovery. Unite with people that believe and share your values. They're based on principles, not on tribalism.
Read the founders. In fact, some of you should start a Hillsdale group here locally. Download the free Constitutional 101 series or the Federalist Papers. Listen to their lectures. Do it as a group. I'm sure that you will learn a lot, as much as I have over the years. Take us out.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We just take stuff as it happens. We do a lot of planning. We do a lot of preparation, but then we also, you just got to I don't know what's going to happen. We are that only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County where we're calling it out. Power players calling out people that are messing up, messing with your rights. That's what we do. Visit our website at libertywithoutcompromise.com. Hey, I've actually had a number of people asking me about getting their hands on that embroidered Liberty Without Compromise trucker hat. So I am working on that and working on making those available to you for purchase for anybody who wants to be able to do that. That is a special edition hat, and we had a limited run of them. So I'm going to work on doing another small run, and we'll let
Dave
you guys
Reilly
know.
will buy one, then we'll really not think that he's compromised.
Would you wear a hat? I think, actually, Dave, I think you'd look good in the hat. Visit our website at libertywithoutcompromise.com. There is other styles of hats and apparel that you can purchase there on the website.
We're just doing this to make money.
Believe you me, there is no money. It'll take a very long time to pay me back, baby. Podcasts. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. You like that sort of thing. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is at The Idaho Sheriff. Got all our live streams archived on the channel there. And then also special edition broadcasts and exposés that we do. So make sure you're following all those social media channels for the latest and greatest of what's going on in the week between Wednesday and Wednesday, and you get to see us talking about it. But a lot happens between those days. So subscribe at The Idaho Sheriff and at Liberty Without Compromise. Dave thinks we're funny. It's because you look in the hat. Look in the hat, Dave.
He has to buy one, though. We're not charity.
You got to pay full price.
You got to pay full price, Dave. Although he bragged that he only made I think the most $40,000 one time working for somebody. He's never made over $45,000. So we may have to give him one as
based
doing
on
our
that,
Christian charity.
Based on that, Dave, I think, maybe I'll donate a hat. Now I feel bad. Donate a hat.